Hey, folks, let me introduce you to my friend, attorney Riley Allen. For the past 5 years, Riley has been named one of the 500 leading lawyers in America. Hey, just last week, an Orange County jury awarded $1.7 million to Riley's client, Troy, against a hotel Troy was staying at in Orlando. In 2008, Troy was shot multiple times during a carjacking while parking his car at the hotel. During the 10-day trial, Riley showed that security was present, but spent more time delivering bed items, towels, and bell carts to guests rather than patrolling the exterior of the hotel and serving as a deterrent to crime. Said Riley to the jury, the hotel provided a uniformed housekeeper, not security. The guests deserve better. In addition, lights that would have illuminated the area where the crime occurred were burned out and hadn't been replaced for months. Jurors also learned that a similar strong-arm robbery had occurred in the parking lot of the hotel 10 days prior. Hello, Riley.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Hey, congratulations on this, by the way. And, you know, I don't do jury trials for work, but when I think in terms of a jury trial that lasts for 10 days, I know you must have put your heart and soul into it.
Absolutely. I think people probably struggle to understand how much effort you really have to put forth because you're dealing with large companies, large law firms, unlimited resources. So it does require a lot of effort, but we were very pleased and honored to put forth the effort on behalf of Troy. It was well-deserved.
Well, then, just out of curiosity, how many lawyers were on the other side against you?
The two law firms involved probably have 150 lawyers between them, and at any given time we would have 5 to 6 to 7 to deal with, and in the courtroom typically 6.
Wow. So, Riley, did I get the facts right of this case for Troy?
Yes, you did. You're spot on as far as the facts. Troy was a paying guest at one of the iDrive hotels, paid his money to stay, asked if it was safe to park his vehicle in the parking lot. He was specifically directed as to where to park, parked where directed. As soon as he got out of his vehicle, he was approached by 3 assailants, carjacked, and shot twice.
And then just out of curiosity, when you trying to tell the jury how the security was delivering towels and bell carts to guests, how do you do that through testimony? Do you have security guards testifying that, hey, this is what I did during my shift?
Well, this particular hotel had a policy, allegedly, that the security guard was to be 30 minutes inside the hotel performing security services and 30 minutes outside the hotel patrolling the hotel. But as we went through the process of getting records, and they don't volunteer anything to you. In fact, they hide most everything and deny that the records exist. But eventually, as we got the records, we were able to establish the security guard they had employed spent more time, as you said, delivering bed items and bell carts and towels to guests than he did performing security services. In fact, during the 3.5 hours prior to Troy being shot, the security guard had spent a total of approximately 12 minutes patrolling the exterior of the hotel as opposed to 30 minutes every hour. And for this particular hotel, which allocates 1% of its overall budget to safety and security issues, in reality, they probably allocated less than 0.5% to security, despite the fact the vast majority of their revenue comes from tourists and or business people staying at that hotel in the iDrive corridor.
Hey, Riley, the good news is that your client Troy lived through this drama, and I'm always curious when you're approaching a jury about how much money they should award your client Troy. How do you pick a number? How do you put a figure in their head? And how do you think what were you guys asking for? How did they arrive at $1.7 million?
Well, the biggest component to me are the intangible losses, your loss of the ability to enjoy life as you previously could, the pain and suffering component. And those are difficult numbers to identify, and I don't want to invade the province of the jury, so I just tried to give the jury parameters or guidelines as to how I might look at it. And one of the ways that I look at it is if, for example, you were perusing the classified section of the Orlando Sentinel and looking at a job and what the requirements of that job entail. In Troy's case, that job entailed dealing with some very difficult issues, and what you want to communicate to the jury is that if you analogize it to a job, there are no fringe benefits, there are no days off, there's nothing really positive that you are able to get from that job other than living with it 24/7. But I think what you first have to do is connect to the jury. Your client has to connect to the jury the jury has to really understand and feel it from him as to the changes he's experienced as a result of something like this, because he almost died. And I believe this jury very clearly connected to Troy. He's a great individual. He's got a compelling life story. So I felt like all we had to do was try to deliver the facts to the jury and that they would do what was right and what was just, and they did.
Well, again, congratulations, Riley. Now, I'd like to say that these folks, the defendant, simply wrote you a check for $1.7 million, but I suspect it's really not over yet either.
I think people also don't understand, once you get a verdict, and in this case, without any doubt whatsoever, a just verdict, this jury did the right thing. We actually had tried this case beginning on September 24th, and after 6 days of trial, a mistrial was declared because of the misconduct of the lawyers on the other side, because of misstatements made by the lawyers on the other side. So that is just one component of dealing with these kinds of David and Goliath cases. These lawyers are not always straight in terms of how they present themselves, and I'm one of those that tells them what I think about it. So in this case, we had similar experiences, and at the end of the day, when the verdict is rendered, they squeal like stuck pigs, and they squeal about appeals and all of that, and I tell them, be my guest, take your appeal. We are not going to discount a dime of that verdict, nor are we going to discount the fact these defendants are also going to have to pay the attorney's fees and a significant portion of the cost related to this trial, and that could ultimately result in a judgment of approximately $3 million. So they can squeal and scream all they want. They deserve what they got, and we will make sure we do our very best to uphold that verdict.
All right, Riley, thanks so much for coming on air and talking to us, by the way. And as I sit here and listen to you talk about this, I can understand why you have been named many years as one of the 500 leading lawyers in America. That's attorney Riley Allen right here in Orlando, Florida.